Breath of the Wild 2 is basically around the corner. Maybe, I don't know. So, I feel like I'm kind of running out of time to make this video. Gotta get it out there. So, Breath of the Wild. What can I say about it that hasn't already been said? Honestly, not much. You can probably find dozens upon dozens of hours of YouTubers talking about this game. So I won't spend this video trying to convince you that I have some super unique, last-second perspective that the world needs to hear about. Instead, I will be spending this video trying to explain my perspective on the game and why I found myself totally, almost helplessly immersed in this particular interpretation of Hyrule. I will also address some common criticism thrown at the game, while also trying not to mindlessly give a pass on all of the game's flaws, which will be hard because, spoilers, I find this game to be a 10 out of 10 video game. I think that's the biggest reason for this video. I'm going to tell you why I personally find this game to be a 10 out of 10. Here we go. I will start with this statement. Breath of the Wild feels organic. It is the least video gamey video game I've ever played. A lot of this comes down to the world design, the progression, and the way in which the player is expected to solve problems. Let's be a little more organized this time. Let's break this into those categories. World design and presentation. You know, I'm not usually huge on open world games. When you look at other open world games, at least older ones, you'll see that the size of the world clearly causes there to be some trade-offs in development. Yeah, Skyrim is huge and has loads of content, but the character animations are oftentimes just silly looking, which really takes me out of the game because the art style is realistic, yet the characters move in such a stiff, awkward fashion. Heck, most of the enemies in the Elder Scrolls series don't even have proper stagger animations. At least not against basic attacks. Slicing up a guard and having them just kind of shrug off your blows while they yelled at you to return their cheese is just kinda, funny. In addition, the main quest in open world games oftentimes takes a bit of a hit in its length and scope. Sometimes the main quest is one of the least memorable parts of these games. I'm not saying the main quest in Skyrim is bad, I'm just saying that the content in the quest isn't particularly more dynamic than a lot of the side quests in the game. At least not to my understanding. I'll admit I've never actually played it. What I'm saying is that just because a game is big and has a lot of stuff in it, does not make it either alluring or immersive to me. That's just not how I am, I guess. When I heard that Breath of the Wild was an open-world Zelda game, I wasn't excited. I was rather disinterested. I didn't, and still don't, feel as if the Zelda formula has worn off its welcome, so long as it keeps making enough changes to keep itself fresh, I ended up getting really hyped for the game as more trailers came out, though, and yeah, that last story trailer, I've gone back and watched that trailer again after beating the game. That's how good that freaking trailer is, man. That's one of the best video game trailers of all time. Anyways, this game didn't suffer much, if at all, from any of the issues I just mentioned. The graphics are stylized and serene looking, which I'll admit to simply being a preference of mine. The animations work well with this visual design a lot though, and I think that's worth discussing. Link can get away with climbing smooth surfaces with his bare hands, because that's just kind of how animated characters climb things. The fact that Link climbs and interacts with sloped surfaces at all is actually a huge deal. Again, pointing back to Skyrim, when's the last time you've seen someone just kind of hop up a mountain? Have you ever scaled a cliff by just kinda grinding your face into it? I don't think so. Or at least I hope not. Enemies properly stagger from attacks in this game, and they even ragdoll. Love me some ragdoll physics, man. Actually, Link ragdolls too, and
It is my pleasure.
Yeah, you'll be seeing a lot of that. And the main campaign of this game, it's great. It's so great. I'm aware that some people have a bit of a problem with the story, and I definitely do see where this comes from. Most of the main characters in this story died 100 years before Hyrule became the post-apocalyptic land that it is in this game, having been killed by said apocalypse. Your only real interaction with them are found in these optional memories scattered across the lands, as well as when you talk to their spirits. While I concede to the story being rather minimal because of this setup, I don't really equate a minimalistic story to a bad one. To be honest, as I've gotten older, I've grown a rather large fondness for stories that let me fill in some blanks myself. This lack of hyper-detailed storytelling is at times preferable to me in the context of video games because my patience for long cutscenes has diminished as my appreciation for other aspects of gaming has grown. It was nice back in the day when cutscenes in games just kind of happened occasionally and felt like a reward for getting through a long, difficult stretch of the game. I feel as if Breath of the Wild simply emanates this classic game feel as opposed to a more modern one is all. It would definitely be nice to have a bit more detail on the characters, but I don't feel as if I don't know enough about them either. I do, at the very least, know what I need to know. Outside of just the story aspect of the main quest, there is also the game part. I love Link waking up and being given his main mission with no context. It's not just that Link personally doesn't have context, neither does the player. You know that you lost 100 years ago in the Great War, and that Zelda has been using her powers all this time to hold the Great Calamity's power in the castle. And now that you've completed your 100-year healing hot spring process, you have to go save her and restore Hyrule. But the details and the stories of the last 100 years are yours to figure out at your own pace. After the main tutorial section of the game, you'll find out that the 4 divine beasts that were going to be used to defeat Calamity Ganon were taken over by malice, the evilness that Ganon emanates. So, you have to go to the 4 corners of the map, however you'd like, and reclaim them so that you can stand a chance at defeating Ganon, whenever you decide to go take him on in the castle. These divine beasts serve as the game's 4 main dungeons, by the way. You can forego this process if you want, but if you do decide to run straight to the castle, you will have to fight any undefeated bosses from the divine beasts before Ganon will show his face. And without the help of the freed divine beasts, you'll have to put up with Ganon at double health. This design is incredibly interesting because you can definitely try to bum rush the main quest by finding and locating some kind of cheesy weapon or strategy, and then running to the main castle as fast as possible if you want to. But the thing is, you probably won't want to. Not just because the difficulty of the task, but also because the main quest fills you in on details of the past that you simply want to know, and while naturally powering you up at least a little bit along the way. Another reason you wouldn't want to beat the game too quickly is because while running toward your main quest objective, you will get distracted. You will get distracted. I know I was. This is the part where I talk about the world. Okay. Breath of the Wild's world is expertly crafted to appear organic, while still having all those little dopamine hits that video gamey discovery typically gives a player. Let me talk about the Korok seeds and the shrines. So the placement of these is everything. I don't really want to go too much into the Korok puzzles here because that will be discussed in a later video. But the placement of the Koroks and how you know that a Korok is present is something that I do have to discuss in this section. The thing is, you know a Korok is around when something that you see is just kinda not quite right. These trees are a bit too symmetrical. Wait, the fruit on them makes them asymmetrical though. Let me fix that. Oh, hey, a Korok! What's with this one rock being placed exactly in this location? That's a little too perfect looking. Hey, look, it's a Korok! Dude, I want to dive right in this circle of lily pads. That'll be super satisfying. A Korok! These are apples laying in these little fruit offering statues. Will something happen if I complete the offering? Yep, a Korok! Wait, apples aren't working for these statues, though. Wait, I'm by the Yiga clan's hideout. The Yiga love bananas. What if... Yes! See, that's the thing, man. There are lots of ways that a Korok can appear. A lot more than I mentioned here. But the natural-looking ways deserve a call-out, I think. Because the only reason these ones work at all is because the rest of the game looks so darn natural. It's a testament to how organic the land of Hyrule really is. Then there are the shrines. I'll talk about the puzzles in these more in a later part. However, I'd like to talk here about how the design of the world complements the process of finding these things. Hyrule, as a region, is incredibly mountainous. I couldn't find the exact quote, but I remember hearing that the hills and mountains in this game were placed strategically to show and hide different points on the map depending on where the player is currently standing. Yet another thing that's natural in appearance, yet intentional in design. So, you go down one hill and climb another, and you find a shrine out in the open. You complete it, go down another hill, and your Sheikah slate starts beeping. There's a shrine nearby, but you don't see this one. This one makes you work a tiny bit more. Maybe it's hidden behind a bunch of breakable boulders that you have to blow up. Or maybe it's this really cool one here. I like this one. You can peer under the rock here and see the bottom of a shrine. You can't swim to it because the icy water would kill you. You'll find cryonis blocks won't help you because the water and the rock are too close together. Looking around the rocky covering won't really help. Nothing seems destructible. You can choose to give up for now, mark the spot on your map and remember it for later, and come back another time. Or you can stop and think for a sec. The river's flowing towards the shrine. Is there something upstream that might help me? No. But there are a bunch of trees and... Wait! In the tutorial section, I chopped down a tree to cross a gap. I also used a raft to float across the icy water. What if... Yes! See? Organic problem solving. This was a particularly cool example, and a lot of the shrines are far easier to access than this one. But still, you see my point. Between 120 shrines and, geez, 900 Korok seeds, there are always points of interest within reasonable distance from you at literally any given time. And these aren't the only things that are interesting either. The flora and fauna in the land of Hyrule are also points of interest. Collecting plants and meat for cooking is a big part of this game. Just like in real life, the flora and fauna of Hyrule are geographically consistent. Some plants, flowers, and animals are common and okay with existing all over the place in many different types of environments. Yet some organic life can only thrive in certain environments, like how the mighty durians are only found in the dense forests of the Faerun region, for example. And being mindful of this is really useful too, because every item in this game can be used for something. Again, organic, yet intentional. And I haven't even brought up some of the more obvious things, like how cool it is to see the many ruins of Hyrule, which beg the player to ask what went down 100 years ago here. A lot of these ruins house little secrets. Or how about some of the challenge of navigating different biomes by dressing appropriately, so that Link isn't too hot or cold. Such a basic idea that's used consistently throughout the game that somehow also never feels like a hindrance because of its ease of use and its realism. How about how Link has trouble climbing when it rains? Although, this one can definitely get annoying at times. Kinda surprising to me that there aren't any, rain-resistant gauntlets you can get late game or something. Anyways, as I said at the beginning of this video, I need to make sure I get this video out as soon as I can to make sure its relevancy, so I'll end things at this. I am an adult, and for the most part, I play video games in relatively short bursts now. I have a lot of things going on in life, after all. But with Breath of the Wild, the first time I played it for 7 hours on complete accident. Time flew out the window. I felt like I was in this gigantic natural playground, and the land of Hyrule was my oyster. And you know what? There's still so much left to talk about. See you guys in part 2.